Hello everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. Actually, it's the only edition of Video Clips this week because Thursday is Thanksgiving. So, just a couple of announcements. Things we'll be posting on the members site coming up. First of all, staying on track during busy times, our fabulous trainer Chris Dorka is going to give you some quick workout tips for being able to squeeze this in with the holidays coming and everybody's running in a whole bunch of different directions, and we'll post that next week, and it's really fun, easy thing you can do. And then on December 10th, we're actually going to post on the members site the Wellness Forum's holiday tree decorating thing that we do every year, which we actually think we're pretty funny. We have a good time, and Dell makes Christmas cookies, and even our dog wears holiday apparel, and we get him healthy baked goods for dogs. So anyway, you can watch it online, but it'll be kind of fun. All right, the other thing is, speaking of holidays, Dell makes some fabulous stuff in the kitchen. The whole kitchen staff does. One of the best gifts in the world is our gingerbread biscotti. So please buy the cookies so that I don't eat them, because when they're hanging around in here, I walk by and I watch them. So if you buy them and they get shipped out every day to send them to your friends and your family who would love to get these cookies, then I will be less tempted to eat them. But they really are fabulous gifts, and my friends ask for them every year. It's like, if you're going to come to my party and you want to bring something, bring the gingerbread biscotti, right? Okay, so let's get into talking about food today. We're going to talk about diets and what works and what doesn't work. All right. So almost everybody loses weight on almost any diet they start in the short term, and there are a lot of reasons for it. First of all, motivation's really high in the beginning, and while there's some understanding, I think everybody knows that losing weight's a long-term proposition, but most people don't really think about that. So they make a lot of short-term commitments that can't be sustained in the long term. And of course, everybody promoting a diet says, we have found the missing link to helping people to get and stay thin. But almost nobody looks at the data. Does the data really show that people will get and stay thin on this particular eating plan? And in many cases, there really isn't that much data to review. So I found this recent meta-analysis kind of interesting. It reviewed randomized trials on 4 popular weight loss plans: South Beach, Weight Watchers, The Zone, and Atkins. And the researchers concluded that none of them were very good in the long term. So 12 trials were included in the study, all of which included at least 12 months of follow-up. 10 tested the 4 diets against what is called usual care. That's where you go to your doctor and they say, you should lose weight, exercise more. And then 2 were head-to-head and compared 2 of the diets against a control. So the results, not actually so impressive. Weight Watchers dieters lost an average of between 7.7 and 13.2 pounds after a year, as compared to 1.8 to 11.9 pounds for the group getting usual care. But at 2 years, a lot of the weight had been regained, so not much advantage. The head-to-head analysis showed that those on the Atkins diet lost an average of between 4.6 and 10.3 pounds, Weight Watchers 6.6 pounds, Zone 3 to 5.7 pounds, and controls 4.85 pounds. No differences between Atkins, Weight Watchers, Zone, and improving sugar levels, cholesterol, blood pressure, or other risk factors for coronary artery disease. And at 24 months, the weight was regained over time for almost everybody. The authors concluded, quote, our results suggest that all 4 diets are modestly efficacious at decreasing weight in the short term, but that the benefits are not sustained in the long term. Now, the authors are a whole lot kinder than I am. Overweight people who adopt a low-fat, plant-based diet will lose 2 to 3 pounds a week on this diet if they're compliant until they reach ideal weight. So in 1 year, you can lose 100 pounds based on what I just told you, or more. So it's not easy, and there are a lot of contributors to weight gain, including emotional eating. But the data should discourage people from starting diets and maybe instead beginning a transformation or a transition to a different way of living. I don't even like the term diet, and I think we just need to tell people this is about learning to live in a different way. And by the way, doing this is not punishment. Sometimes I think people perceive this as not being much fun. It can be a lot of fun. The food's amazing, and it's fun to be healthy. So it's not a punishment that you have to eat a better diet. It's really a gift if you can find the right diet that is sustainable over a long period of time. So anyway, not so good on some of those popular diets. Now let's talk about something that is so good. Some of you know I'm a fan of John McDougall. He's been sort of like a mentor to me, and I've certainly looked up to him for a long time. And his book was the first one I read on diet. I always tell people it's really good that the first book I read was by John McDougall, because if it had been Dr. Adkins' book, well, we'd be having a whole lot of different discussions on video clips, wouldn't we? So anyway, he's been using diet as a primary prevention tool and intervention tool for over 30 years. And first of all, if you're not familiar with this program, I'll tell you about it. It's a medically supervised 10-day residential program during which patients are first evaluated. Then they're taught how to eat a low-fat vegan diet. They're provided with education about the relationship between diet and health, understanding the why they're doing the things that they're doing. Meals are provided via a buffet, and patients are encouraged to eat as much as they want. 80% of the calories in the food comes from carbohydrates, 7% from fat. The meals are starch-based, no oils, and Mary McDougall is the designer of the recipes, and she really does a good job. I've never been to his 10-day residential program, but I've spoken at his advanced study weekends at the same hotel, the same place where they hold their interventions, and the food is just incredible. So during the 10 days, Dr. McDougall and his staff assist the patients in at least reducing and many times completely eliminating medications as much as possible. And they also provide classes that address psychological issues and encourage exercise. Dr. McDougall and his colleagues recently published data for 1,615 participants who were enrolled in the program between the years 2002 and 2011. They reported their data at the end of 7 days, not the end of the whole 10-day program, but the end of 7 days. And there were statistically significant decreases in cholesterol, and that's both all three, total HDL and LDL, weight, blood pressure, blood glucose, creatinine, and blood urea nitrogen. Median drop in cholesterol was 22 milligrams per deciliter, but for those who had cholesterol levels of 240 or higher, the median drop was 39 milligrams per deciliter. So the sicker the patients were, the bigger improvements they saw during that period of time. Average drop in blood pressure was 18 systolic, 11 diastolic. At the 7-day evaluation, there were improvements in all markers in all patients, and that even included the patients who showed up with fairly normal numbers to start with. Even they showed improvement. See, we can all get better. Medications were reduced or eliminated in 7 days, and these statistics will blow your mind. 86.5% of those taking blood pressure medications and 90.7% of those taking diabetes medications were able to reduce or eliminate drugs at 7 days. We're not talking about 2 years, we're talking about a week. The authors cited research showing that the rationing of animal foods during World War II in Denmark and the United Kingdom resulted in drops in mortality, reinforcement for the idea that the cause of degenerative disease is the rich Western diet with all the animal foods and fat. And the researchers actually wrote, the burden of Western disease can be dramatically reduced by eliminating animal-sourced foods and vegetable fats from the diet and replacing those foods with low-fat, plant-based foods. They also added, this type of dramatic early success can be important for maintaining patients' motivation to adhere to the diet. And the rapid results could also motivate physicians to prescribe diet therapy before resorting to the pharmacy for helping their patients. And I think that's one thing I want to talk about for just a second, is that sometimes people say, well, people aren't motivated. You know, Americans just don't want to get better. They don't want to change things. Well, you know, a lot of people have tried really hard to change their diet, and they haven't seen results because they haven't made the right type of change in their diet. But when you show people what can be done in 7 days, they see the weight coming off, they see the numbers dropping. It's amazing how motivating that can be to continue to go down that path. So here we talked about 4 diets that don't work and one that actually produces spectacular results. And so obviously we favor a plant-based diet here because we know that the side effects, you know, if you're using it for weight loss, the side effects will be more energy, better cognition, skin looks better, hair looks better, more athleticism. So if you can tolerate those side effects, this plant-based diet is really fabulous. All right, so that leads me to the last thing I want to talk about today, which is that Thursday is Thanksgiving. And I wish you and your family and friends a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. But also, I hope that you'll really keep in mind your commitment to health when you sit down to Thanksgiving dinner, because there are so many fabulous things to eat that don't have to completely blow your healthy lifestyle out. Okay, so for example, here in the kitchen, Del makes these stuffed baked squash. It's absolutely amazing. And in fact, when I take these types of dishes other places, the carnivores scarf it down as fast as I do. They love it. And you can make a sweet potato pie that isn't real high in fat. So there are so many fabulous, fabulous things to eat for the holidays. So be mindful of your commitment to health and enjoy Thanksgiving. And gosh, if you have a glass of wine or a piece of pie, that's all good. But don't make it an eating orgy. Okay, so, and just think about this. I always say this every holiday. My voice in the back of your head, what I would be saying about what's on your plate, and that can maybe help you to gauge what you're doing. All right, with that, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it. I'll be back to you next week. We'll be back to regular programming on Tuesday and Thursday. Have a happy Thanksgiving.